Can you imagine dropping out in the last year of your degree? Well, that's the type of passion founders have today. We're glad to introduce you to one such passionate entrepreneur who dropped out in the last year of his PhD in spite of being a gold medalist. In this episode, we are in conversation with Nikhil Jain, who is an IIT BHU, IIT Bombay, and Monash University alumni. He is an epitome of what we call as a serial entrepreneur with a founding history of 5 startups. He is the co-founder of foreignadmits.com, the world's leading and trusted platform for foreign counseling focused on providing guidance to students and working professionals who aim to pursue degrees abroad. So, let's listen to it. Hi, Nitin. Welcome to the show. This is the second episode that we are holding. We are the VC Stories and we foster entrepreneurship. So, for everybody who does not know you yet, can you please elaborate upon your journey and give us a brief introduction of yourself?
First of all, thank you, Komal, and thank you, team of VC Stories, to invite me here. And I'm really excited to share more insights. But before you get to know what excitement entrepreneurship has, let me give you a brief background about why I started entrepreneurship and who am I. So I'm Nikhil Jain, low middle class family background from Calcutta, born and brought up in Calcutta. After that, went to Kota, the typical, I would say, engineering lifestyle. Spent a year in Kota, got into an IIT. But the fun fact was, I actually fought with my parents to get into an IIT. So I was a die-hard engineering fan, unlike many of us in the trends right now. So IIT was always a passion. So got into an IIT. Definitely, it was a good amount of struggle that I had. Probably that would be another story for some other day. But yes, 5 years in IIT got me a great experience about life, people, entrepreneurship, hustle, hard work. I'll definitely connect some anecdote stories about my first startup. And this is my almost like fourth or fifth startup right now. So, how the transition happened, how startups started, and why entrepreneurship is the thing which I'm doing now. Graduated from IIT BHU as a mining engineer, then went on to do my PhD from IIT Bombay and Monash University. Spent a considerable amount of time in India and also in many countries like Southeast Asia. Almost traveled 10 to 12 countries and had seen good and not so good sides of academia and startup. And here am I, co-founded Foreign Admits almost 3 years back as a side project. Now, from last 1 year, we are sincerely working on it as a full-time job, and it's more than a job though. And life has been pretty much of an experience, honestly, since we started working full-time into Foreign Admits. So yeah, founded for Foreign Admits, which is more like a international study abroad mentorship platform, trying to solve the problem which has not been touched upon from decades into this traditional consulting industry. Yep, that's all about it.
Okay, so you just mentioned that you have co-founded this startup of yours, right? So,
Yeah.
this is one of the questions that most of the founders are thinking of, that if you have an idea, why to get a co-founder, and if we have to get a co-founder, then what are the characteristics that co-founder should have, or what mistakes can and the core founder can make while looking for his founding team?
Sure. Absolutely. And I think it's one of the great question, and I hope to make justice because I have had a startup which fell down because of co-founders ideology mismatch. And I am having a startup which is pretty successful till date because of the co-founders ideology match. So, but then having a co-founder is not a necessity. It's always a great advantage if you are going alone, because there are always pros and cons. While decision making, if you are alone, you might have to make decision by yourself. It can be tricky, and at the same time it can be faster. So it's always looked, I would say that from my perspective, always wanted someone who is the yang of mine. I'm basically the yin, he's the yang. So that helped me to always keep a check on my, I would say, creativity. I'm the creative guy, he's the numbers guy, and that's where we kind of keep each other balanced. So that was my ideology. I have done like couple of startups with good team members in past, but then I would say the decision making is somewhere, I felt a little bit of void in that. So that's where I felt I need to get a great team, and the early members are nothing less than co-founders. But then gladly I happened to bump across a co-founder in my journey. So that's where I feel if you are solo founder also, the task would be a little difficult, but then it's not impossible. See the merits also, because you are the lone person, you're the maximum equity holder, you are the decision maker. But then with great power comes great responsibilities, so you have to take
True.
appropriate decisions. With the shared responsibilities, you share the burden, you share the laugh, you share the anger, you share the fights also. But then that's where sharing is always caring. So I look into the co-founders matter in that way. Having said that, I waited for my business to start. For foreign admits or many other ideas, I waited for a right team. More than just a co-founder, you need a right team member at the early stage, because the right team is far better than any ideas whatsoever. So that was my experience.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have had 4 5 startups before the foreign admits, right? So what factors do you consider while ideating and validating the idea? What is the exact process that you follow, and what young entrepreneurs or people who are aspiring should follow?
Okay. So I think this particular thing goes back in class 5 and class 7. Two instances I can probably mark around. I was good with computers. I was first introduced to computers by my brother, and I was good with PowerPoint and internet surfing since class 5. So when there was an English project, everyone struggled to find data and information and present it. I was literally nailing it, and I made 26, 27 projects out of 50 people. Literally half of the class was using my projects, and I
Oh,
made good load of
that's
money, but I could not come first. So that gave me an understanding why entrepreneurship, and then that gave me an idea that okay, if there is a problem, there's a solution, and if there's a solution, are people ready to pay for it? And I think same thing I replicated in class 7 in the creative subject, when we were asked to make certain creative stuffs using beads, balls, and all. And I was able to make some exciting hanging walls, wonder walls, and all, using my creativity. And I literally employed my mom to do more pieces of it, and literally sold out the entire thing for not even the batches but also the relatives. So I saw an understanding of scaling up in class 7 when you need to hire someone to do this. So I think fast forward down the lane, when I started my first actual startup, that was in second year when I was interning in IIT Bombay, and I saw a lot of researchers facing a problem about writing research papers. Inherently, a lot of people in India are not good writers, even in technical or academic writing. I saw it as a problem. So I think my first startup was with my experience of internship in IIT Bombay. So when I met a lot of researchers while I was doing my research internship, I saw a common problem among them, that they are not publishing their papers to a great journal because of their fear of their language or their writing styles or their formatting, lack of formatting understanding. Same way, many of the even IIT Bombay and BHU guys were struggling to even write a cover letter or a resume. Back in 2011, 12, it was a bigger problem. Then maybe technology or internet was not so much disrupted. We didn't had automated resume builders to great extent at those times. Okay. So that's where I found a problem, and I was good with English, I was good with network. So I said, can I solve this? So I connected to a couple of my friends who were really good writers. They literally wrote great resumes, and I just outsourced those thing, and made a mechanism around it, that I'll take these things, I'll get it done, and I'll make a commission and I'll send it there. Traditional service model, right? Outsourcing service model. So tried it before doing any business model analysis or anything. It just made simple sense whether I can make money, and at the same time, are people happy taking the service or not. People were happy and they wanted to pay, and if customers is paying, you never say no. So my ideology is there: if the money flows in, you never say no to money. So try to figure out how things could be done, learned a lot of things, self-taught myself how to write a resume, cover letter. Eventually I ended up reviewing a lot of research papers, taught myself, became the Elsevier reviewer also. So it was all like learning on the go. So once I established, okay, there are enough people who are looking to pay for it, and there's a market that is already there. So it's not a new thing that gives me a confidence. Okay, it is validated. People would believe for such kind of a service. Okay. And once that is done, we still never made a B plan. We formed the team first. We knew that we need good writers, we need good team members, we need good social media folks. The website was not in place. So the first thing that we did, we out, this is something I would recommend to student entrepreneurs. You don't need funding in the first place. I literally managed my own startup for just $1,000 back in 2012. And $1,000 was definitely a bigger amount, but not so big. It's just probably your weeks of food, I would say. So, the essential thing that helps you run the business, that is something that you need to focus on. And that doesn't need any scientific rocket science. You just need to make sense that your numbers are making sense. Whatever you're selling at a higher price and getting certain profit to be able to sustain the business, and that profit has to be enough. You cannot sell it at lower price just to make sure that you're undercutting the competitor, because that way you will be killing your own business. Early stage startups always sell it at a more premium price, work hard to make it a premium service, but then sell it at a more premium price. So I think that was my first understanding. So then I think slowly I started learning about each and every nuances, that what is business model, what is business model canvas, lean canvas, customer acquisition cost, customer lifetime value. All these were jargons earlier. But then once that startup became a pain for me to manage, that's where I started learning. So it's fun for me because I could start fast and I could fail fast and I could check and then iterate fast. So it didn't hurt me in the long run. It just gave me a clearer perspective that this is how it should be done. So once I did that, first startup though went successful but shut down because I could not manage it. So that was my personal failure. And then 2 to 3 startups, I literally went to these boot camps. There are so many good online boot camps, offline, 7 days, 30 days, events, hackathons that happens. They made from idea to a company. I literally didn't know anything about the formal education. I knew business, but formal education about entrepreneurship was zero. So I took an opportunity, took part in a scholarship-based bootcamp, helped myself learn all of those basics, fundamental of it, and then started the business in a little organized manner. One essential learning that I had is, don't start it for the sake of starting it. I literally did
Hmm.
that. Seeing the trend, over startup is cool, let's do it. I did that, and I literally failed. Straight, face on the floor, I fell. Okay, it it sucked a lot of energy, my academics, my financial savings, and that's got the harder part of learning. So I think when I attended one of the boot camps in back in IIT Bombay, we learned one very interesting thing, and that's something I would say is the golden rule for starting any startup. You know, figure out what your customers need and understand why do they need it, because customer may need anything and everything, but their why is going to help you out whether they are ready to pay for it also or not. Do you need a ride to rocket? Yes, I would love that, but am I making a payment of $100 million? No, I'm not going to make that.
No, I'm not.
So that is the thing. You need to understand, are customers ready to pay and how many? Maybe 10 of $100 million makes sense, but 10 of 10 rupees doesn't make sense. So that's something we learned to interview customers. We literally went on the streets. If you have a problem, if you feel others are having that problem, try to speak to strangers of the similar customer segment. Similar customer segment, it's a jargon, let me simplify that. People whom you feel would also be facing the same problem but are not known to you. So that way you would get a more unbiased opinion and thoughts. And we started interview them, understanding their problem. There was no concept of solution in my previous startup. We were far from the solution. We just knew that we had to understand the problem first. Whether it is solvable or not, that's a thing that we will decide based on the feedbacks. So we literally spent 2 to 3 months into interviewing a lot of students, clients, stakeholders involved in the entire business, and that gave us an understanding, and they gave us so much of insights that we nailed on our business model and the business plan. So that gave us a clarity of how to even structure a business. If you know exactly what a customer need, how much he's going to pay, you literally know many parts of the business. So that's where we literally, that doing that off internet research, I usually call it off the internet. You need to go real, you need to go to the people, Survey forms not going to help you in first place. Survey forms is the third step. First, build all the assumptions, speak to customers, categorize them. Hypothesis was yours, then it comes facts, opinion, and guess. If it's a fact, it's a fact. If it's an opinion, it would be customer perspective. If it's a guess, it would be a guess. It may be valid or invalid. So that is how I used to, write everything about my startup and then start validating it. That's how my business model also got to aware, okay, I need to sell like this, I can't sell the other way I've thought. So there is a bigger transformation that happens, and it's customer centric transformation. Ideally, what 90% of the people do, they first solve the problem, then they find a customer. But are the customers ready to pay in the way you want them to pay? That is the bigger thing. For that, you need to spend a lot of money. Instead, learn from customer how they are willing to pay and what kind of service they want. So that's something I spent a lot of time, and that gave, that's a call of homework. If you do your homework really well, your startup can do fairly good. So with foreign admits, I think we spent 3 years just doing side projects, understanding the customer, almost served more than 2000 students that point of time, and understood every bit and pieces of it, and started slowly adding that into our learning sheet. When we started adding that into our learning sheet, at the end of the day, we have a very structured, well thought process, which is hard to replicate also by others. So that's where our IP started getting built in, and that's where the customer's X factor, now we can work upon it. So it takes time initially, doing those homework, understanding the customer, and not just the customer, the stakeholder who are involved in this entire ecosystem. If your business or service is dependent on something, understand what is the dependability. Is that dependability going to kill you or not? If it's going to kill you, then you have to take control of that also. So a lot of things comes into the picture once you start doing those homework. And I think there are frameworks now to help you visualize that. Probably lean canvas, business model canvas, helps you put your entire business into one sheet. And that's one of the best, I would say, way to now digitally view your entire business. If you're able to do that, you have literally nailed at least 30% of your entire business model problem.
Very insightful. So now, since we are on the matter of community building, that it takes a lot of stakeholders to build. Your business has foreign stakeholders as well as Indian stakeholders. How do you manage to network all of them, ranging from the students to mentors to your co-founders and the foreign colleges?
Interesting. Yes, ours is a multi-party platform. So there are so many stakeholders, but it was not started as a multi-party platform. There's always one governing party which influence other parties. So even if a marketplace, there are only two parties, but one party is going to be bigger than the other party. It is usually not the equal. Else it's a social media network. Okay. So our model was more based on the student. We were always focused on the student. If there are students, then the universities are going to come in. Then we need mentors. Then we need any other things. So we need to first have enough students on our platform. We need to first have enough students in our bandwidth. We need to win the trust of the students first. If the students are with us, then the universities are going to be with us because they need students. They want more students. The mentors are going to be with us because they want to help, and at the same time, there's a revenue that mentors can make, and students also would need them. Okay, so that's where the whole business model started to, I would say, evolve. Earlier it was a student platform, now it's a marketplace. Then it again becomes a platform come marketplace come SaaS service. Okay, so that's where the entire evolution happened. It never happened in the first place. Earlier we were the service comes in, we help. Now we started building a community. Now talking about the community, it takes time. Community is more like an investment. Consider it like an investment which may turn out to give a social capital if you knew the metrics and the vision with which you are making the community. Because that initial platform, if you're making a community in our space for only freebie seekers, okay, you may or may not make money at all. You need to have a premium segment. You need to understand what kind of customers are you bringing in. If you're making a market on the freebie seekers, your business model has to be slightly different. Then you need to earn revenue from the data, from other kind of services that you can give to them indirectly. Not directly, you cannot sell, because the entire community is based on the free model, right? Then there are communities which are based on the paid model. There you need to give premium services. Your customers are more valuable on that note in terms of the trust and the loyalty that they have spent with you. So that is where the business model changes even with the community also. I've seen like many communities in the market, not everyone could scale. Not everyone are making money also in the community. And that's one of the reasons we didn't start community early. He said it's going to be a big investment. Are we ready for it right now? No. We need to make business stronger. Then we can always look towards community when the brand is there. So that was one philosophy we took. Maybe correct, maybe not. I really don't know about it till it works. But what we have seen, community is important. If you have bandwidth, spend time. Maybe 3 years before, if I would have to start differently, I would have started building community because that time it was all organic. Now the paid element has started to come. So that is one of the things that people have to make the early calls. And that was my lesson. If you are building a D2C product, having a community, or a B2B product also, having a community is the best step that you should be able to make in this current generation.
Okay, so for 3 years, it this journey has been for 3 years of foreign admits. At what point in time did you feel it to be right to launch a MVP, and how has that MVP evolved over time?
Uh, so 3 years, it was almost like a service. Okay, when the service started getting out of hands, when the business started overperforming your expectations, that's where you felt okay. We need some kind of scalable solutions. We never thought of we'll make a product. Earlier, we were always on the service segment, but then we felt, can't this process be scalable? I am doing mentorship for maybe 50 students a month. How am I able to manage when 50,000 students are going to come, or maybe 5 lakh students are going to come? So that is where we realized that okay, now our services are working fair, let's add some scalable elements to it. Okay, we started a basic website. We started collecting forms using certain no code products. We always were non techie in the first approach. We used platform builders like drag and drop builders are there. Okay, we
Okay,
use those things to build our first bare minimum digital presence. Okay,
okay,
so that people could come in. I know what content I can write. I'm at least a decent writer to write this content. If I needed to outsource, I could have outsourced a little bit of graphics. Else we had Canva by then. So Canva really helps on the design part. Wix or similar kind of platform helps in the web development part. We made a basic site. Idea was people needed a mode to communicate to us faster. So how do we do that? We made site, we made forms, we got an email. We I self taught myself how to host a website, how to develop a website on Wix. Okay, never a coder, but then need is the mother of invention, right? So
that's really true.
but yeah, exactly. And again, coding or not coding is something that also I took a decision that hey, I'm not good at coding. I will not be able to code, but that should not stop my work. If I can make enough money, I can probably hire a coder. That's what I did. I focused on the business because customer doesn't care whether you have a beautiful website or a great website. They care about your references, your track record, your quality of credibility, or whether you can solve their problem or not. We just believed on the business. We pick up the phone, we call to the customer, explain them how we can help, how the process is different, what our credibility is. And trust me, when you say, hey, I'm a grad from ID Bombay or BHU and then the Purdue grad, that brings a lot of credibility in this space that they have already done it. And we knew this entire space is plagued by people who have never gone abroad but still selling these options as commodities. And that's what we took the nerve of the customer. Understanding the nerve of the customer was more important than building the product. So later on, when we could not manage, that's where we thought, let's start scaling it up. Earlier, there is no plan. So when we built an MVP, the MVP could be as simple as like a WhatsApp now. A WhatsApp
Hmm.
business account itself is an MVP nowadays. I've seen even I do small experiments by using WhatsApp business. So your MVP could be as low code, as simple as possible, but it should solve the main problem that you are having with the customer. Okay, and website, all of these things will fall in place. You do need nowadays basic website doesn't work. That's also a hard fact. If you think okay, I'm making a basic MVP, an ugly site, it still works. No, it will not work that way. You will lose the trust of the customer. Either don't build that, else spend some time, understand. Don't give that social presence in a bad way. Have a social presence in a different way. If you're not good with website building, probably build a Facebook page, build a LinkedIn page, have WhatsApp business account. There are so many ways to connect to a customer, right? Even there are companies who started as a Facebook page but now are $1 million companies. So
Hmm.
there are different ways to start up your business. You don't have to replicate the traditional ways. Whatever works for you and your customers, focus on that. Don't focus on anything else. Your customers and you are the only, I would say, it's like a girlfriend and boyfriend talk. You need to focus on your girlfriend or boyfriend. You don't need to think what others are saying, right? If your customers are saying they need this, focus on that. If the customer is saying they need that, focus on that. Rest, everything else doesn't is needed until unless you have enough bandwidth, because at an early stage bandwidth is very critical. So in short, just two lines on the MVP: build a low code or a less costly MVP, because most likely it is going to fail. We changed our website almost like 100 times till date. We revamped, changed the entire product 4 times. So it will evolve. So investing everything in the first product is not a wise solution.
Okay, that was very insightful. So you have done PhD, but you're a dropout. You dropped out in the last year of your PhD. It takes a lot of courage in somebody to drop out in the last year of your degree, right? So what was the exact thought process that came into your mind, and how does a person know? Because most of our audiences are either full-time students or they are full-time job holders. So how does one know that it's right time to give up what we are actually doing and start up your own business?
Okay. First of all, I wish, reflecting back, why didn't I drop out 2 years before? Okay.
Oh,
It's always a regret because, taking that first step is always going to be difficult. I was in a comfort zone, probably earning like couple of thousands of dollars, per month. And, in Australia, living a decent life in the most livable place in Australia I was living, or even the planet, I would say. So in a
okay.
beautiful city, PhD was decent. Everything was in the picture. Uh, I not happy with my PhD? No, I was a gold medalist in my PhD. So there
Okay.
was no there was no question. I was a 10 pointer in my PhD. My PhD was chosen by my own consent and by my own research. So I knew what I wanted to do. It's just that priorities changes sometimes in life. When you see a bigger vision, a bigger goal, you kind of take a decision. Okay? Foreign admits was born during my PhD, when I was exposed to a lot of other post grad students, in India, in Australia, in China, Singapore, many other places. And I was more passionate towards education, because whatever I am, I feel my college, my education has a really great role to play. A lot of people nowadays crave about education because their college. Unfortunately, I'm not among those. I really am thankful for the kind of education that I've gotten. Yes, there were limitations, and everything is not perfect in life. Guys even from Stanford, Harvard struggle. Even guys from average colleges do great. So nothing about education or college. So when I got exposed to that kind of a system, that's where I saw the limitations of thought process. We self reject a lot. We don't know what our potential is. When an average middle class guy with an average percent can land up with a full funded PhD, can get into an IIT, why can't you? So that is where my challenge started. The inner challenge I took on. Hey, why can't these guys do better? They are better than me. And why are they thinking only of this? Why not that? Why can't they think big? So talking to them, I understood that country like India is suffering from one big problem: awareness and misinformation. People are not even aware about what they can do, and people are mostly misinformed that what they can't do. So that is where it took me a lot of time. And once you kind of improve someone's career, and you get their calls from them or their parents, it gives a big satisfaction. So my cause or my main motive of foreign admits was I need to help students make a conscious career choice, so that when they study in college, when they get an education, they are pretty happy and confident about it. That yes, whatever I wanted, I could at least get some good part of it. Not everyone's going to get 100%. That's a fact of life. But then at least whatever I'm getting, I'm happy about it. So that was a bigger intent. Studying abroad or India, that's not a case that anyone, not everyone's going to make study abroad decisions. But then getting a good guidance or a mentorship is somewhere missed out in our entire education system. So that's where we thought it could, help the students if we could bring in a different essence to the whole education system by connecting to the mentors. And it was all self reflection. I got great opportunities in life, thankfully, because of my mentors. I was not ashamed, but not everyone is very extrovert. They don't have access to good mentors. So what I felt was a personal pain that could have been there if I wouldn't have gotten XYZ things. I would also be facing the same problems. So that's where I connected with the students, and that's where foreign admits was born during my PhD. And I spent a considerable amount of time with the students. Been I would say uh, been very famous among students, honestly. So that was one of the social capital that helped me understand the problem of the students. And once you know that there's a problem and people are ready to pay, all you need to know is how to figure out a solution for them and charge them. I would say that's how it is.
You studied throughout your education on scholarships. Even your PhD was on a scholarship. How does somebody get or research about such opportunities? Because most of us do not know about it. But education is something that everybody requires. So, how scholarships can be attained?
If I have to talk very short about it, I would say that you're not working hard enough. That's the
Okay.
shortest answer. How did I know? I'm a human being. I'm not an encyclopedia. I didn't had access to laptop till my third year of engineering. No access to internet till second year of engineering. So neither a smartphone also till second year of engineering. So nowadays you have almost everything which I didn't have. In class 9, 10, forget a smartphone. I didn't even had a phone. Nowadays class 5, 6 guys have a phone and a good
Exactly, they
internet.
do.
So it's all depend on how much curious you are, how much determined you are, and how much you are willing to learn. All you need is an internet, an IQ, and a device, probably a smartphone or a laptop or whatever computer, and you need to spend time. I spend hours on internet. I basically Googled class 10 scholarships, class 12 scholarship for students in West Bengal. You just need to be very simple. Google gives you so much of resource. You're not even ready to be able to, digest it. All you need to do is just increase your appetite of hunger of knowledge. So, and then, if you get an opportunity, nail upon it. I've always been opportunist in my life. If I get an opportunity, I burn the midnight oil and I go after with it. And that's one of the reasons, even something which I've never imagined to have happened in my life, that has also happened. My college scholarship was never imagined because I applied one day after the deadline. But then now I'm a
Okay.
NCGN scholarship holder. It just, if you give up hope, if you self reject, if you be under anyone's influence, you will never achieve anything. Everyone told me in my class 12, you're not an IIT J material. Please don't prepare for it. If I would have listened to them, my career would not have changed. So first is you need to self believe in yourself. You can do it. You are the one. How am I getting 26 job offers in undergrad when my friends were struggling? I got one insight. There are more than a billion jobs and I'm just one person. I can definitely get jobs. I'm not that bad at it. Among the billion jobs from not getting a job, that's where the concern would be. But then there are more than a billion jobs on the planet. Can't I get one job? That's how you have to figure it out and take baby steps. Gotta be honest to yourself. Most of the people are not honest to themselves. They kind of try to beat around the bush, blame the system, blame everything. If you are not doing hard work for yourself, you are the one who needs to be blamed. That's how I see it, honest and true. Else,
That's been
shortcut
really
answers, else shortcut answers Just Google scholarships. There are hundreds of sites. At Foreign Admits, if you go, we publish thousands of scholarships. You just have to go search and apply.
Elon Musk tweeted a few days ago that MBAs cannot create a company, and you, being a PhD, hold a very senior place when it comes to education. So, what is your take on that, and how does one person's education play a role in running a startup?
If you are doing an MBA for the greed of a better pay or probably get into an MNC, you will never be able to create a company until you
Okay.
realize the purpose of an MBA. The purpose of an MBA was not this. It was made this because of human greed. Okay. I am not an MBA. I usually hated MBA in my undergrad, and I because my family prodigy is all I'm Ahmedabad gold medalist, and I never wanted to be an Ahmedabad again. So I literally have a different understanding towards it. Any degree, be it MBA, be it PhD, or be it MS or bachelor's, anything that you pursue, even in education or even in life, there has to be a rationale of why you're doing it. If you don't have that why, probably you're not doing the right thing. That rationale only drives you and drives you to the perfection. I never had regrets of joining a PhD and leaving the PhD in the final year. Though people had regrets me leaving it, but I never had it. You know. So that's one of the things that you need to have is conviction. So when you look towards PhDs and MBAs, certainly many B schools in India and some even abroad also don't teach them the real market insights and analysis. Philip Kotler is good book, but have you really followed it? That is the question. If you take up a Newton's law right now, is Newton's law valid? Not exactly. It has its own different ways. Things upgrade. So I would not say MBA is bad. The way you have learned your MBA, probably mugging and copying, that makes you bad. People can do an online MBA or general MBA and still do great businesses. Even if I see the statistics analysis, a lot of people, even if they haven't founded the startup, but they're the foundations for many big startups, and they are MBA guys. They are doing good work. So that's where I would not discard the degree, but the way you're taking a degree is makes a hell lot of difference. Even IITians are unplaced many times, right? So it's not
Agree.
about getting a degree, right?
Okay, so today the entire economic system or entire startup system is more towards the .com. Everybody is rushing towards the online revolution, and social marketing is a very strong tool when it comes to building a business. So what are the key resources that any startup requires in today's world, given the scenario of COVID, and has COVID been a boon to your startup right now?
Okay, too many questions. Let me break it down.
Okay.
Current stage is the digital stage, and it is going to be digital because that's how the world is transformed. It has its pros and cons. I'll not get into that. That's a much deeper conversation. But when we look at accessibility, that is where the .com has given the merit, right? Even if you want to do business in Netherlands or Nigeria, you can do it from here. That is one of the things. That's why people are rushing towards .com. Not every business is made for .com business, but a .com can enable that business. That is how you know businesses have to see. As I said, not every business is going to be unicorn business. Maybe we are not made for unicorn business. Maybe we are making $100 million a year. That's going to be fine. Or maybe $10 million, maybe $1 million. That's fine. You don't always have to be a unicorn on that note because every business has its different functionalities. So .com could be an enabler, it could be a core, I would say, proposition. That depends. Variations are there. For the traditional business, .com is a enabler. That is how they are looking at it. And many companies which are enabling this .com for other businesses, their business is based on .com. Just like Find or maybe Uber, they are based on .com, but they're enablers to drivers and passengers. That's how it is. Now, talking about the second question, and I'm kind of missing out what the second question was.
COVID, COVID.
COVID. Okay. COVID has destroyed a lot of companies. It did affect ours also, but not in a negative way. The reason being preparedness. I would say it. I didn't say I predicted COVID, but the way we functioned our company, we knew that digital workspace is something very interesting, and it is going to be future. To hire right talent, location should not be a barrier. To work in a good way, I can work from, and this is something triggered from my own experience. I never worked in an office space. I never took a full-time job, though I had offers. So I was always in a setup of home, work from home or work from campus. I worked in a couple of US companies also, but entirely from campus. So that's the way I've trained myself. 2013 or 14, work from home concept, and that concept got enrooted in foreign adults because my co-founder was in US, I was in Australia, and we formed the company in India. So it was difficult, but then it was something that we laid the foundation. So now, when COVID hit, it was just like another day for us. Just the health precautions were there, but then it's just another day in terms of the working. Now also we had a little bit of struggle moving to office, then even moving digital. Moving to digital is going to be a hard time for older employees because they have never worked in that space. The discipline that it takes, the kind of conversational connect that you would need is very difficult, and that's something older employees would have a bigger problem. The younger ones are always digitally enabled. They are more comfortable in their own space, and they're more trusted, and they understand and respect the value of time, the good ones. Okay. So COVID manufacturing businesses, yes, destroyed completely for many, but always given the birth to businesses who have think differently. So for us, it was a 10x rise. So I don't say I would welcome COVID. That's never been, appreciated and not being even thought. I'm even scared because I got affected with COVID, went out of COVID.
Oh,
It literally sucks the entire energy out of you. But yes, any time I would definitely support the digital work environment. It is the future and saves a huge amount of cost, impacts the environment in a greater way. So I would say that.
that's been very insightful. I mean, many people have the access, have resources, but they do not exploit the resources. That's where the problem lies. So we would really like to connect with you in a few time and follow up on your journey, because your journey seems very interesting and something that our audiences and us ourselves, we can learn a lot from you. So it was nice having you on the episode, and I hope that your business grows and you build $1 million company someday, and we have an interview then as well.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it myself. Thank you.